If you are a beginner photographer looking to buy your first lens or upgrade from the lens that came with your camera, I think this may be one of your best options. This is the Viltrox 40mm 2.5, and while I have your attention, I just want to get this out of the way, but this only cost $168 USD. So if you're using a Sony camera, it's cheaper than the 50mm 1.8, the nifty 50, and I would argue that it's also sharper, it has faster autofocus, and I think the 40mm focal length is a lot better than 50. So in a second, I'm gonna go out and shoot some photos with this lens because I don't wanna bore you just sitting here talking about this lens. But before I do that, I wanna bring up something that I know a lot of people in the comments will probably be asking me about, and that is how does it compare to the Sony 40mm 2.5G lens? And while I do not have the Sony 40mm with me, I do have one of the other lenses from that trio, which is the exact same size as that 40mm, and you'll see it's only slightly larger than the Sony 40mm is. So it may be slightly larger, but it's not really enough to make a difference. To me, the only real downside is the fact that the Viltrox lens does not have an aperture ring like the Sony version. And now that I have this lens, I don't think I will ever feel the need to buy the Sony version because this lens is more than good enough and it's only a fraction of the price. So now that we have that out of the way, I'm gonna go out and shoot some photos with the Viltrox 40mm 2.5 on the original Sony a7C because I wanna show the results that you can get with a $168 lens on a camera body that you can probably get for around $1,100, maybe even cheaper used nowadays. So these two would be a powerhouse of a combo for any beginner photographer in 2024 or even experienced photographer like myself. So I am pretty much out in the middle of nowhere right now. I'm shooting on the Viltrox 40mm 2.5. I've been driving for probably the past 2 or 3 hours trying to look for something to photograph. Just driving the back roads here in North Carolina, and I came across these two old Volkswagen Beetles sitting out in front of this abandoned shop. Finally found something I wanted to photograph. And we're gonna walk around here, take some photos, and there's a town not too far from here, about 10 minutes up the road. We're gonna go shoot some photos there as well. All right, so this location has been an absolute gem. I feel like I'm definitely gonna come back here in the future. But for now, I think I've gotten all the photos I want with this lens here so far. So now we are gonna head into town and see if we can find anything else. So this is a pretty little town, but there's not a whole lot here to photograph and the light is not very good right now. But the one thing I did see is this theater over here, the Reeves Theater. This is somewhere I've seen photos of in the past and I've wanted to come here and photograph it. Currently waiting for some of the cars to clear out here, so I'm gonna hang around for a little bit and take some photos.
This is definitely a spot I'll be coming back to during sunset sometime. So this theater is something that has been on my radar for a while that I've been wanting to photograph. I know nothing else about this little town except for this theater. So for that, I think I'm pretty much done shooting. I'm excited to go back and edit these photos and see what we got, see how the Viltrox 40mm 2.5 performed.
All right, it is now the next day and I've gone through and edited all of the photos that I've shot with the Viltrox 40mm 2.5. And I have to say, I'm impressed. The images are sharp wide open, although I did stop down to a f4 for most of the photos I shot. But even wide open, the bokeh looks nice. It's nice and smooth and doesn't look choppy like some lenses do. And while I don't have the Sony 40mm here to compare the image quality, I don't think you will be disappointed. Because my biggest concern coming into using this lens was the sharpness and the overall image quality. Because coming from a similar lens like the Viltrox 20mm 2.8, that lens wasn't the sharpest. It definitely wasn't a bad lens, but you can tell that the sharpness and the image quality of this 40mm is much better compared to that similar priced 20mm lens. Now, I did mention the Sony 50mm 1.8 toward the beginning of this video, and the reason I drew that comparison is because the 40 and 50mm focal lengths are relatively similar, but they're different enough. But I think 40mm is just a little bit more versatile and ideal for a beginner photographer. My personal favorite focal length is 35mm, and while I still think I like 35mm a little bit more than 40mm, they're close enough that a lot of the time you can't really tell much of a difference. But at the same time, there certainly is a difference, and I think I can find myself getting more comfortable and used to shooting with the 40mm focal length. So outside of the price and the image quality and the autofocus, the reason that I would recommend a 40mm lens over that 50mm lens, I find 50mm to be perfect for shooting portraits, but a little too restricting in pretty much every other area. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me there, but that's just my personal opinion and my preference. But overall, I think the Viltrox 40mm 2.5 is a great lens, whether it's for a beginner photographer or a more experienced photographer. For $168, I think you are 100% getting your money's worth out of this lens. You will not be disappointed. So thanks for watching the video, guys. If you guys have any questions about this lens, please let me know in the comments down below, and I will be happy to get back to you as fast as I possibly can. So thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to help support me. And I hope I could inspire you guys to get out and take more photos. Go out and shoot.